Hello, very welcome back to AFC Newsday. It's great to see so many people here. It's great to be back here as we talk Arsenal with loads of stuff coming up. That huge game against Liverpool at Anfield, which I'm super excited about. I'm sure lots of you are too. Thank you so much to everyone that's tuned in so far. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe if you're watching across any of our other networks, and drop us a follow. It'd be great to see some familiar names in here, catch up. It's been a while. Apologies for a lack of content here on AFC Newsday. Myself and Matt have had we've had some personal things going on, with work and university. So Matt will be joining us later. So, make sure you're around for that one. It's going to be great to be there. Really looking forward to it. Arsenal have got that big trip up to Liverpool at the weekend tomorrow. A huge day of sport as well. You've got the early kickoff of Manchester United versus West Ham, I believe, and then you've got a full day of football. Arsenal, the late kickoff, and then I don't know if anyone watching is a boxing fan, but there's a huge night of boxing coming from Saudi Arabia, which I'm really looking forward to, involving Anthony Joshua. So, however your Saturday goes, I hope you have a brilliant time. I'm just waiting for a few of our guests to join us. Thank you so much for everyone tuned in. Make sure you drop us a follow, drop us, you can subscribe to us wherever you're watching from. It'd be great to have you stick around, catch more of our content, because we've got so much more coming up, and it will be great to have you stick around for more of our brilliant Arsenal content. We're getting back on the grind. And Matt will be joining us later, as well as Curran. So please make sure that you stick around for that. Arsenal versus Liverpool, huge game tomorrow. Going up to Anfield, that place which Arsenal all too familiar with. I should say as well, apologies, I haven't referenced it yet, but I've got my Christmas attire on. So however you're celebrating, I hope you have a brilliant festive period. Great to see Yembele in the chat. Yembele, nice to see you, man. I will hopefully see you at West Ham, but we will wait and see. But yeah, great to see you, mate. And yeah, let's talk about Liverpool. They've got a huge game, that game at Anfield. They always struggle at Anfield. It's always a really tough place to go. We will be discussing later on, is the Anfield atmosphere a myth? Is it just something that is, it's not actually as effective on the game as people think it is? Let us know, drop a comment, and we'll discuss it later. Let's welcome on our first guest, and I hope he doesn't say too much about my attire. It's a Rudolph top, by the way, and he's got sunglasses on, so I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you like it. Curran, welcome to the stream. Curran, my friend, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm all right.
Great. Yeah.
Just thought I'd pop in because you asked to pop in. So
Yeah.
how are you doing anyway, Dan? Are you,
Mate,
all
I'm
good
really
or?
well, thank you. It's been a minute. But before we address anything else, can we address the elephant in the room? Is this the first stream you've done since you shaved the beard?
It is the first stream I've done since I've shaved the beard. Correct.
Nice.
If you see a lot of me just touching my face, it's gonna be it's still pretty weird. Still waiting for it to grow back in. I've got a little bit of stubble coming in, but apart from that, it's not really. I look very, very weird to me.
Mate, you look good. You always look good, Curran.
Yeah,
Don't stress, man.
it
Great to have you here, mate. We'll talk about a lot of things, Arsenal with the big game tomorrow, which I mentioned. Mate, I don't know if you heard me say it before you jumped in, but what a Saturday tomorrow is. You've got the early kickoff, Man United, West Ham. You've got a full day of Premier League fixtures, Arsenal, Liverpool, evening kickoff. And then if you're a boxing fan, it gets even better with the Joshua and Wilder fights in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
So are you going to be, is that the
I'm pretty
schedule for
locked
your
in.
Saturday?
I'm pretty locked in. Sunday is going to be. I don't think there's going to be much on Sunday, and then obviously it's Christmas, so Saturday is a pretty big day in terms of just sport wise. So it is just to lock into pretty much, because it's different. It's going to be weird having a Sunday where usually, I don't know if you remember last week, everything was on the Sunday, and the Saturday was kind of dead. And this week the Saturday is all full, and then the Sunday is going to be dead. So it'll be interesting to see how people go, especially given that when does City play? Because they're coming back to. We're going to be back to there. I'm sure they play someone this week.
I will find out for you.
I think they play Monday, don't they, or maybe even Sunday.
It wouldn't be Monday. Monday's Christmas Day, I think.
No, exactly. It will be probably either they have a
Brentford
Boxing Day one or
their game against Brentford's been postponed. They're playing on Wednesday, the 27th, is their next game.
Yeah, so they're just going to the Boxing Day fixtures. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Let's go through some more of the comments. We've got Sold says hello. He's highlighted the fact that Arsenal prepare with speakers in training. Do you reckon, Curran, that Mikel Arteta's got the old speakers out this week? He's dusted them off and they're
you never know. I don't think so, because we've seen inside training, we've seen the pictures. It looks like it's just a normal thing. He likes to mix things up. He's not someone to do the same thing a lot of the time. He does experiments and he does these little things in training to try and liven it up a bit. So maybe, you never know with him. So as long as it's something that's conducive to helping the squad, adapt to what will be a very big game, that's the main thing.
Do you reckon that the Arsenal players actually took anything from that? I mean, obviously from the performance of that particular game, you'd say not, but do you reckon the Arsenal players actually found, benefited from the experience of having the speakers in that session, or do you think they all just afterwards kind of got together and went, what was the gaffer thinking? Like, he's mental.
I mean, if you listen to how any of these how any of the players talk about Mikel, that they know that he's not exactly the most stereotypical manager. He's going to do stuff that will push them, will test their limits. So I don't think they'd be surprised by it. And in terms of that 4-0 performance, until Mikel started riling up the crowd, I think it was like 25, 26 minutes in, we were doing okay. And then the crowd got going, and then then the mistakes started happening. I think Tavares gave one away. Then they just were able to bypass Partey in the press. I think for one, if I remember correctly. But then we started well. It looked like it was. I remember going into like I would say after the first 20 minutes, thinking we're doing decently. This doesn't feel that bad. And you were mentioning earlier about the atmosphere, and you're thinking, it is interesting with Anfield. There's with a lot of grounds, and even the Liverpool fans are starting to say it. The Kop is always the Kop, but like the main stand and the other stands, it's not as as rowdy as you expect Anfield to be. I mean, they have You Never Walk Alone. It'll be everyone on top for the first 5 minutes, everyone enthusiastic, and then the energy kind of fades. And then if the crowd gets up, the crowd gets up. We saw that with that United game. It was sort of like kind of dead. I mean, I fell asleep, and I think
oh yeah, I remember your tweet.
Yeah,
you fell asleep and woke up, and you're like, I can't believe it was 0-0.
Yeah, it was 0-0. I was like, what the hell? How have they managed to scam that? But yeah, I mean,
there you go.
We'll see. I just think that I'm glad they had West Ham in the middle, not because of the tiredness factor, but because they needed a game after United to kind of like take it out, because you could see how frustrated they were by that draw. I mean, Virgil after the game was fuming, but they needed a game just to like, really put the hurt on someone, and they did that with West Ham. So I'm really glad that they had that game.
They got out of the way. Yeah,
got out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. Yem saying he reckons that Arsenal need to just focus on their game this time. They're the better team technically. I mean, obviously, there's going to be no Alexis McAllister for this game. Who was the other injury, Curran? There was another injury for Liverpool. Was it? There was another one.
They have Jota out. They have McAllister out. They have McAllister out, Jota out. They have no Thiago, obviously. That's against us, he usually turns up, so it's good not to see him there. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game, especially with that midfield, because they don't have exactly the legs in midfield that we have. They don't have the ability to win duels in midfield like we have. Even with the likes of Havertz will win his duels defensively. So it's not like he's going to be a bypass, someone you could just bypass or just run past. Like I don't see the same sort of Liverpool like dogged mentality that you would see with them than you would see in previous years. It's very sort of like, well, okay, Gravenberch is there, but Gravenberch can be bypassed. And the thing is, Gravenberch on that left centre mid role, if he plays, he is not as defensively orientated, he'll probably be a bit higher, and that may give Odegaard some space to just progress the ball through the middle third, and that's something that I would be watching out for if he does start. If he starts Jones, that's a different proposition. I think he'll be a bit more of a controller. He'll drop a bit deeper, and we'll have to sort of find a way to get around him. I think if I was Klopp, I'd start Jones for this game. You can't have Gravenberch trying to be almost making it a 4-2-4 in some scenarios. You need someone that's actually going to be a midfielder and actually, control situations and try to stop transitions, and wouldn't depend on Gakpo for that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to the game. It's going to be a big one. If you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to follow, subscribe, drop a comment below. Let us know what you think the score prediction, what your score prediction is for that game. I'm going to reveal it later, Karen. I'll ask you later too. But whilst we wait for Matt, let's crack on. I've made some slides to talk about the game, some beautiful, content for us all to enjoy. Let's talk about it. Arsenal versus Liverpool last season. I think, it was really a turning point for some ways. In some ways, last season, this game was just a bit mental, going 2-0 up and then the game ending 2-2. But even though going 2-0 up, when it came to 2-2, you felt almost a little bit lucky that it was not 3-2 to Liverpool in the end because of the nature of, Aaron Ramsdale really coming in clutch for Arsenal. But there was a lot of storylines that came out of this game, Curran. I know there was the whole Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher having a go at Granit Xhaka, saying that he was riling the crowd up and he was unnecessarily, stirring stuff up. This time round, what are the main differences for you about the Arsenal side that are going to Anfield?
To be honest, like they were mentioning Xhaka. Havertz is just as big a hothead as Xhaka is. Like he has, especially when if he wants a tackle, he'll put in a tackle. We saw the Newcastle tackle. It's not like he's someone that will shy away. And I think the main difference this season is we'll have Saliba with us. That's the main difference. Like having Holding in that line drops your line about 10 to 15 yards back. So you're not able to be as compact and push Liverpool in their own half. So it's not the same proposition. And when you think about it, it's going to be very, very difficult for Liverpool to just sort of get out because of our press. And that wasn't the case last year.
Yeah, there are some really big differences. I think, Saliba, like you said, Havertz is a different proposition. Declan Rice is huge. Yeah. For a game like this when the crowd's going to be against you, the atmosphere is going to be completely different to if it was like a 12:30, for example. With it being the late kickoff, that the Liverpool fans are going to have all day to get ready for this. Karen, we will pause because we've been rudely interrupted by a certain someone that's just wandered to the stage. Go on then, Matt. Welcome, Matt. Good to see you, mate. Nice of you to join us halfway through. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Sorry, having my Friday night dinner. Always one of the highlights of the week, but I hope you boys are doing well and great to be back.
Friday night dinner. If you're going to be late for Friday night dinner, you have to tell us what you had.
Well, I'm not late for Friday night dinner, to be fair, but I had homemade challah, chicken soup with sausage roll pretty much, and chicken, roast potatoes and veg. So there you go.
What are you saying, Karen? Do you think we should let him off or should we remove him and carry on? Do you think we will let him off?
We kind of have to, but
kind of have to.
Could just get rid of me and then just have me waiting in there. It's like
no. I'm joking.
We'll let him off.
I'm joking, Matt. It's good to see you, mate, and it's good to reunite after about a month and a bit off of the YouTube. But it's great to be back and great to have you there. And Karen, thank you for rejoining as now officially you hold the title, by the way, of our most regular guest. So kudos to you. And that could be a bad thing, a good thing. It could be a bad thing. So I'll leave it up to you to interpret that way. But let's jump back into it. Matt, I asked Curran, in his opinion, what the main differences were between this Arsenal side that went to Anfield last season and the one that are going this season. What are some of the key areas you think Arsenal would be significantly stronger in?
I think I mean, obviously, the big elephant in the room is Saliba being there. Having Declan Rice there, obviously. I mean, those are the two obvious answers, really. And as obvious as they are, as cliche as they are just absolutely massive, because you look at players who can almost decide big games or be pivotal in big games. You think about players who can get you up the pitch in tough games or squeeze that line up, when you're potentially under the cosh. And Saliba and Rice do exactly that. And someone like Rice, his ability to just drive you up the pitch, win you that free kick is completely invaluable in a game like this. And, I think Curran just mentioned, as I got here, about Arsenal's press, and this looked a lot better, which is another factor which would be quite interesting to see how obviously Liverpool deal with that, as they're the team who would ideally probably want to have a quick start and try press us pretty high. But yeah, I'd say those are the key factors. But at the end of the day, it's all about just taking our chances in both boxes. And that's as cliche as it is, as simple as that, really, for how the game ends up.
A game you definitely got to take your chances in. If you are Arsenal, they might be few and far in between. They might, there might not be consistent chances. The record against Liverpool is not pretty viewing. I mean, you don't have to read through that list, but there's not an Arsenal win away at Anfield in the Premier League on that list dating back to 2014. The last time Arsenal won away at Anfield was in the Premier League was September 2012, as you can see there, with that magician Santi Cazorla scoring for Arsenal. How Arsenal could have done with a player like him a few years ago. What a player. And, it will be, I don't know, going to Anfield, Curran, is it a mental thing as much as everything else? Is there, Arsenal haven't won there since 2012. Do you think that plays on the player's mind, knowing that they haven't won somewhere for so long?
I mean, yes. I mean, not really, I would say, because one, I think most of the players in that barren run we've only had a lot of our players for 2-3 years. And let's be real, in those 2-3 years, they would have been better than us. So if it's a mental block, it's not something from 10 years, but maybe 2 or 3 years. I think the 10-year thing is more of, around the club. And I think that'll weigh more on Arteta's mind than anything else, because he was captain for a couple of those big losses. And I think he was involved in the 2012 game. So to have him be the manager, in being a former Evertonian as well, it means a lot to him. So definitely something that weighs on his mind, but it will weigh on his mind more than the player's mind, I think. Especially someone like Declan, who's like, these are the games he kind of came for. So he'll be looking forward to it and relishing it. So yeah, for sure.
Anfield under the lights, the stage is fully going to be set. I can't wait for it, honestly. Tomorrow, like, as far as sporting days go, tomorrow could be absolutely incredible. If you get that West Ham win over Manchester United, you get that Arsenal win at Anfield, and you get the full night of boxing. I can't wait for it. I hope everyone else is excited for a big sporting day tomorrow. It's going to be excellent. We've spoken about difference makers already. Saliba, Declan Rice. Is there any worry that Saliba might not be there tomorrow? There's been some Twitter
nonsense.
There's been some Twitter nonsense as per, and I've seen Jamie Carragher's retweeted a fake account, so that's made my day. But there's no worry.
He was in the training pics for the last training session, so
there you go. That answers it all then. So if
and
Saliba's there,
I'll tell you what the funny thing is it was a picture of like the winning team like running towards the camera, and you see Saliba by the goal in an orange bib, like you can see like his haircut, you can see his figure, and someone spotted that out in that, and that's how we know he was there. So it wasn't like it was like a full picture of him. It was like an Arsenal plane detective type thing. So yeah,
I feel like Arsenal fans almost try to have a meltdown sometimes, though. Like, we're a day before Anfield, and they've created in their own heads that Saliba ain't going to be there. Like, just calm. If we get to the team news and he's not there, then yeah, okay, fair. Obviously, then. But as Curran said, it's a bunch of just nonsense.
Yeah. I remember Yem saying, Yem's watching. I remember him saying a while back, he's not been seen at the training ground or the hotel. Everyone panic because Arsenal, there's now these these agents that we have that go out from Arsenal Twitter and they stand outside the hotels and they report on if they've seen them, which I just love it. I find it very funny. But yeah,
but you remember the morning of the Brighton game? I think it was that Prek Brown account was like Declan's ill and doubt for the game, and everyone kind of lost their minds.
And then he dropped a 10 out of 10.
No, but then it wasn't until there was a picture of them doing the walk, and he was in there, and he was wearing shorts despite apparently being ill.
Yeah,
it was very odd, and then the whole thing died, and he dropped a crazy performance. So maybe it's 2 times same thing that will happen again, and maybe Saliba will drop a 10 out of 10. Now he's been ruled out of the game.
Ruled out.
I think there's an element of people wanting to either be first or just get attention as well, which is just like saying, "Oh, X player's out," because all it takes is one person to see a picture of the players or see the players in plain sight, see said players not there and first look, tweet it out, and Arsenal Twitter goes into meltdown. So there you go. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, you wanna. We'll wait and see what the your Prep Browns and your I think another one's called Stuart, who stands outside. I don't know. Shout out to you guys. You guys are, you do your thing. There you go. Difference makers: Declan Rice, William Saliba. Yum saying he fully expects another big game from Declan Rice. These are the games Arsenal purchased him for. These are the games you want Declan Rice to stand up and be counted and to drag the team by the scruff of the neck when you're away at Anfield. An interesting point, Leandro Trossard. He loves a goal at Anfield. He scored that hat trick for Brighton at Anfield. Just an interesting point. But I just really wanted to touch again, Curran, on what a buy Leandro Trossard was, and I think I rate him so highly personally, and I really like him in that central position when Gabriel Jesus isn't fit enough to be there. How highly do you rate Leandro Trossard? And do you think he could be another person to make a big impact on Saturday tomorrow?
Yeah, of course he can. I mean, especially in these big games where it's these top 6 games, he's always someone that likes to step up in these kind of games. I think last season before he signed, wasn't it a hat trick at Anfield? I think that's the picture.
Yeah, the picture on the right is from the hat trick at Anfield.
So this is a game that I think he'll relish. I think that he can be that sort of man off the bench that can, impact the game in a way that could help us a lot. And the main thing is if he's going to play on the left, so if he comes on from Martinelli, for example, or something like that, it's important to make sure that he gets himself as close to goal as possible. You can't have him just, out on the wing just doing nothing. He has to be inside. So it'll be interesting to see how he's used. And I do expect if we do need a goal and it's sort of like 75th, 78th minute, or Trossard on, and then they'll do this, Havertz and Trossard, they're running into the back post, waiting for crosses from the right side. Just really go, really go for it and go try and get the passes off into the back post and try just to get the knockdown or the goal from that way. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see if he can come and do something, but hopefully we won't need to rely on, a 6-man to come on. Hopefully when he does come on, it'll be as a relief sub, not a game changer. Maybe hopefully we'll be winning the game, not, sort of needing a goal 2-1 down, trying to get Forza.
Yeah. You mean trying to add a fourth or a fifth for a famous win at Anfield?
Yeah,
yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Leandro Trossard, Matt, a few short words on how much you've enjoyed his Arsenal career so far. If you have, you might have hated it.
No, I think centrally he's far better. On the left, as Curran said, it's so much more important to get him closer to goal. I'm not a fan of him being that touchline winger who gets isolated. I think he's very ineffective there. Obviously, he'll come up with the goals because his movement's brilliant and he's a fantastic finisher of the ball, like we've seen in so many games. His run, against Brentford last season to get the goal, against Chelsea to get the equaliser from Bukayo Saka's brilliant cross. He's a very instinctive finisher, very two-footed, which is very difficult to fend against. But I do prefer him a lot more centrally, and I would like to see him more centrally. But whatever it is, you're talking about a player who you bought for 20 or so million to be an impact player in January. He was exactly that and got us through a very tough period without Gabby Jesus and without Eddie Nketiah at point 2. and a player who's very versatile, didn't cost a lot of money in the grand scheme of footballing transfers. And as Curran said, he'll relish these big games, as I'm sure all of our players will. I'm sure Liverpool players will too, because it's the type of games when you're of the level almost. You want to be involved in general, but when you're of the level, it's properly games you want to be that guy for, and you want to be the shining man. And just talking about that stat as well, when you said us at Anfield for however long, probably most teams at Anfield have a pretty horrific record. But as Curran said, it's more about the current group of players, or since Arteta's come in, which is more relevant than anything than the last 10 years where whatever's happened.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Liverpool's still unbeaten, aren't they, in the Premier League at Anfield this season? So it's not going to be a pushover of any sort. Sorry, and yeah, really looking forward to it. Huge game. Still a really nice amount of people watching. So if you are watching on Twitter, if you are watching on Twitter, I've put a link underneath the video you're watching at the moment. If you want to come across to YouTube and subscribe to us, that would be really appreciated. AFC Newsday on Twitter as well. Please make sure to drop us a follow. We'll be posting regular content, just Arsenal news, transfer news, goal updates, speculation, news about shows. So, if you are able to do that, that would be really much appreciated to all of us. Let's talk more. Klopp versus Arteta. What are some key things you think about when you think about Klopp versus Arteta, Curran? I mean, we've seen quite a few of these battles since Arteta's, the earlier stages of his managerial career. But what are a few things you think of, Curran, when you think of Jurgen Klopp versus Mikel Arteta?
I think, I think it's more of a how dare you step to me type relationship now. It's gone from a begrudging sort of like, oh, look at the new boy on the block, to like, now piss off. What are you doing? Can you go away now? It's not okay anymore. So it's interesting because I think Klopp has always been quite, before I would say this past title challenge last year, he's always been quite complimentary of Mikel. But there's always been that sort of like animosity in terms of they're both very, very passionate managers. And I think he's started to realize that he's not got the same resources that Mikel has. He's not got the same squad. His squad is quite aging at this moment in time. It's not like it's a young squad like we have. So I think he's seeing, and he's almost feeling a bit of not envy, but just sort of like, what have they done to deserve this praise when I've won everything? Blah blah blah. It's a lot of what a lot of Liverpool fans do, a lot of what City fans do. They don't like that we are coming up. We're the ones that are going to be, they're breaking the City pool monopoly. We're not talking the talk like Ten Hag. We're actually walking the walk. It's sort of a proper. We've built a structure that's going to be able to actually end an era, not just talk about it. So I think the main thing is between them that there's sort of, I want to say animosity. It's just sort of like they know what each other can bring, and they know what each other is going to be producing in terms of points and tallies and all these records and whatever you want to talk about. So it'll be interesting to see how they interact, because obviously during the game there's going to be a fight. You just know there's going to be a fight.
At some point, it's guaranteed.
It's not even like I've just accepted. I wouldn't be surprised if one manager got a red card. Genuinely, like I would not be shocked.
I think one's more likely than the other based off of track record.
Yeah. But the main thing
players.
But the thing is, with the managers, it's sort of like whoever makes it less about them will have the advantage. If it's Klopp and he makes it about himself, it will galvanize the crowd. But what it will also do is it will also focus everything. It'll raise the noise a little bit in the stadium, but once that dies down, it won't be sustainable, because it's just a moment. If it's Arteta making it about him, the whole crowd will just rip him from start to finish. Whereas with Klopp, if it's about him and the ref, for example, that happens every game. It won't be something that will be, carried on throughout the entire game. So he needs to. If I'm Klopp, I'm trying to make Mikel be the one to antagonize the crowd. I want, the most amount of pressure on their team. I don't want to make it so it's sort of like we get a bit of noise, but the noise is just that moment, because nothing riles a crowd up more than an opposition coach. That's the main thing. If it was the home coach, that happens every game. So you put the pressure on the opposition. Don't just make it about us. Make it about what they're trying to do, and that's the sort of mentality Klopp's going to need to try and create.
I think there was that big moment a few years ago as well. I think it was in the 4-0 when Liverpool beat us 4-0 at Anfield. We'd been quite lucky, but we'd also started the game relatively well, considering how things had gone at Anfield. And then there was that bit of a scuffle, whatever you want to call it, on the touchline. Anfield erupted and Liverpool ended up putting 4 past us. So, as you say, it's hard to avoid those type of things, but obviously that is something the crowd will relish off.
Sure. I wanted to ask both of you about this, but Jurgen Klopp's made some fairly controversial comments in the media since their last game, and he really called out the supporters, after their game in midweek. And, I just wanted to ask you both, as football fans, that pay tickets to go to games, what do you make of, the manager of a football club saying, if you're not up for it, then give your ticket to someone else? Like, what do you make of that? I mean, Matt, I'll ask you first, mate.
Few opinions. I think the outrage on Twitter from Liverpool fans of Arsenal fans talking about it, I thought was very strange, because shock horror, we play Liverpool next to Anfield, and shock horror, manager says just before our game, a few days before, whether it means, whether it has a relation to playing us or whether it's just a general point is irrelevant. It's gonna, get Arsenal fans a bit like, okay, there's a tiny bit of fear in that. But obviously it's Anfield and such. But yeah, I mean, I don't really disagree with what he's saying, to be fair. I actually quite like, managers intervening and saying that type of thing, because I think it's almost a common thing now. Fans of other clubs will try, downplay whatever fans support. But for me, at the end of the day, pretty much every top 6 club support or home support isn't really what the club should be, or like what, how things should be with how good they are and how big the clubs are and how many fans they have. I just don't think it really represents them. Whereas if you look at the away support of pretty much any Big 6 team, obviously it's a way smaller margin, but that is like a big indication of, your top fans, and not top fans, sorry, there's no one superior per se. But, you see the top 6 fans probably have the best away support in the country, more or less. But then the home support just isn't of the level. So I don't mind him calling out. Apparently he's done it before as well. I can't say I've seen it before, but I haven't looked out for it. So, fair enough, he has. But yeah, it's an interesting one to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. Karen, do you have anything really to add to that from your personal point of view?
I mean, the other thing is when you talk about giving away tickets, like, I feel like sometimes that there's not a lot of, I mean, I don't know. Some of the younger fans are more touristy fans, and not they're the ones that come to Liverpool to, have the day out. Your fan base, your core fan base at Liverpool, I don't want to sound it like don't come to the ground, don't do. You have to establish that connection with which Klopp has done very well with the core fan base, and that is who you need to rely on. That's your bedrock of your support. I mean, obviously, football is a global game, and please don't get it twisted. If you want to come to the Emirates, for example, come from wherever you want. You're all welcome. But what I'm saying is where your home, that home area, where N5, for example, for us, you've got to create that bedrock of support. And to say give your ticket away, it's just it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, because it just feels like those are the people that have supported you when you didn't win anything. Those are the people that were there for you when things weren't going so well. And now it's sort of like, okay, we're winning stuff, but we need to make sure that we win every game. So I understand that, but you don't do that by, giving away tickets because you're not loud enough, or maybe you're a bit older and you don't fancy having a shout. Those supporters are the ones that have supported you and got you through what you've got through. So for me, it's just a bit. I find it a bit distasteful. But look, I'm not a Liverpool fan. It's not something that I could really speak on. Maybe it's a different vibe from them. Maybe they think, no, it's all right that we need the noise. Anfield was a bit crap against United. We need to make sure it's more active and more loud. So, I mean, it's a difficult one because I can understand both points of view. But for me personally, I don't like having this this dichotomy between the supporters and the manager. There has to be a togetherness, and it's not something that I felt that was a bit of a trying to divide people, and it's not something that I would encourage as a manager.
A little bit
do
out
think,
of touch,
though,
maybe.
that I do think, though, just to add onto that, I do think, though, that specific comment, I think it's more principle than it directly is go give away your ticket. It's more so a point of like, if you're not gonna be up for it for a game like Arsenal at home, in essence a pretty big title clash, then when are you going to be up for it? And what's the point of, because obviously support's a focal point. I don't think it's straight up saying, get rid of your ticket if, it's just more principle of like, if you're there, you got to be up for, a big game, which I think is completely fair enough. But I do get both perspectives, as Corin said.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. Jurgen Klopp, he loves a moan. He loves to complain every now and again, doesn't he? So, yeah, we'll wait and see if he complains about the crowd again after Saturday's game. If you were interested, Aston Villa Sheffield United is still 0-0 after 51 minutes. I would have thought there might have been a few more goals than that by now, but apparently not. I mean, we've kind of touched on it from that point there, but for me, like, it's been an interesting talking point recently. Is Anfield's atmosphere a myth? I guess more the question for that is, how much of an impact does the crowd getting up for things actually have on the game? Like, I mean, that incident last season when Granit Xhaka, he had that thing with Trent Alexander-Arnold, didn't he? And Carragher and Neville went, did one of their big things there, and they were like, oh, Granit Xhaka, you were stupid, and then they almost blamed Arsenal conceding on that moment. Karen, how much of an impact do you actually think the atmosphere and moments like that have on the game, or do you think they're just totally disconnected?
I mean, on the atmosphere, there's really 3 points. One is a lot of it depends on how the team is playing. Like, I felt like with us last year, we had a style of play. We had we had the ability to control games in the first 30 minutes that got the crowd up and really, carried the momentum through the game, and it really created an atmosphere that was, heralded throughout the land for being so rowdy and, getting behind the team. Secondly, like us, they've now instituted a ballot system, which means it's harder for people to go regularly because you're constantly looking to. You're not looking. You'll get your tickets are based on kind of luck. If you're not a season ticket holder, it's just sort of like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it, and that means
it's a raffle. It's a raffle, really, isn't it?
It's a raffle sort of thing. So
yeah.
It does mean that people aren't able to, regulars do kind of miss out a bit. Obviously, it does clamp down on the, on the touting and all that stuff, but it does have an impact on how the atmosphere is, because if you're not having a portion of the fan base that's always there, a significant, obviously there's going to be a small portion that do get lucky enough, but a significant enough percentage where it's sort of like take our block 25 people. They're not, some of them are pretty not the most reputable blokes, but that whole block used to be a wall of noise, and not being able to get tickets or an allocation that for that block has kind of deaded it a bit, because they've only got, I think, usually about 3 or 4, maybe 5 rows, whereas last season it was an entire block. So it has impacted, and it will impact Liverpool as well. And I think that it's not a myth, and this is the third point I'm going to make. It's not a myth. I think it's been it's been clamped down. I think it's not been a something that it's Liverpool's fault. I think they've tried to combat things to keep things as fair as possible for everyone. So it's a tricky one. How do you kind of balance between the touts and the atmosphere? So yeah, I think it's a shame for Liverpool, and I think it's a bit of a shame for us because it does mean that things are a bit tougher. But look, you get a bit more, you get more people involved. You get people from around the world able to come, and it means that there are more people that are able to enjoy the product. Whereas, again, I'm going to mention again, you need to be able to count on people, your locals, and the people that kind of are the lifeblood of the club, and the people that will go every week or every other week, or just be there as much as they can. By having this ballot system, you're again trying to just marginalize that community, and I don't think that's something that I'm too bothered about. But I think if you're talking about that atmosphere, it is going to play a role. So yeah, that's how I think. And in terms of specific moments in matches, that's always going to be the case. That's always going to be the case when a flashpoint happens in a game, that you're always going to get some noise. But the fact is after that flashpoint, is the noise sustained or is it just going to die down again? And that'll be the difference, because anyone can get up for a moment or two. I think what Klopp wants is if something happens for the rest of the game, you just keep going, or just from minute one. But what's going to happen is we're going to have a moment, or someone's going to have a moment. So it'll be interesting to see how it'll change things, and how it will keep things. Will it keep things, going, or will it kind of die down again and make it to sort of the atmosphere they had against Man United? And that's the main question, and it could really play a difference.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, Arsenal versus Liverpool tomorrow. It's the late kickoff in the Premier League, a huge one. I'm really excited for it. Matt, Curran, I'm sure you're both buzzing for it as well.
Very much so.
I wanted to get into some score predictions to round up the episode. Again, a big thank you to everyone that stuck around to watch this one. So if you are watching and you've got a score prediction, make sure you comment that down below to let us know what your score prediction for this game is going to be. But let's bring everyone back in. And boys, I want to know how the game's going to go. I want to know what the score's going to be. And, just your final preview for the game, some things that might be big key factors. I mean, just looking through here, Yambele reckons that the referee could be a big factor. You want to ensure the referee isn't a big factor. Don't want to give the referee the opportunity to make a decision. I mean, it comes down to on the day who it is. I haven't seen who the referee for this game is, but
Kavanagh, I think
it's Chris Kavanagh.
Yeah,
Chris Kavanagh. Okay,
I shouldn't even be addressing him by a surname like he's a player. That just says it all. I think about referees.
There you go. But yeah, Matt, I will come to you first. Just tell me a little bit about how the game's going to go. Some key points in your opinion, and a score prediction, please.
I've been thinking a lot about this one, and it's difficult to say because I've got a score prediction in mind already. But it's so hard to say because, Anfield's kind of a fixture you can't go in confident for. I don't think, irrespective of context, you cannot go in confidence for. And that's probably, like the fact that City have gone there for however many years and can never really get over the line there. It's just one of those grounds you can't really account for. And, I don't think it's a ground you want to go in there like, we're flying, we're in great form, we're going to go cruise it. Because, you obviously, as Arteta always says, you've got to earn the right to win, as cliche as that is. And what I will say is, irrespective of score, we couldn't be going in a better place. For once, the injury side is on our favour. I know we've got injuries still. We've got Partey, we've got Timber, we've got Vieira. But for me, injury-wise, you're always going to have injuries in a squad. And, in terms of actual key players or players you'd hope to be fit, I'd only really brand Timber in that in terms of difference makers, with Partey potentially off in January and how many games he has missed for us in recent times. I almost associate that as a Thiago in an injury sense, that I don't look at that as a big absence for Liverpool because he's just never fit. aside from when he plays Arsenal normally, which doesn't seem to be the case this time, which is nice. But no Jota, who's obviously a kryptonite of Arsenal's, no McAllister, who's been very good for them. I think there might be one or two other players missing, like Bajcetic, obviously Thiago, as I mentioned, Robertson's out. I think it was originally meant to come back around this time, and I think his recovery is only in like February or something. So that's another boost. And we have Declan Rice. Obviously, we have William Saliba this time. You look at Arsenal's team, it's probably going to be unchanged for the third game in a row, which we haven't had a back-to-back unchanged 11 for however long, let alone 3 in a row. And I think that says it all. And, we're going in great confidence, flying with a brilliant win against Brighton, seemingly clicking offensively. Even our losses this season have been massive fine margins, which is where I do slightly question how the game will be. Do I trust us to take advantage of those fine margins? Not entirely. I think Raya, it'll be a massive, massive, massive game for him. And, it's a concentration game in that sense too. Even Villa, they scored a brilliant, brilliant goal. But Villa's plan, coming at us early and then getting that early goal just meant that, things were a lot harder for us, even if we should have won the game. And sometimes it's just key moments you have to just ride out. Even Luton, for example, conceding a set piece a few minutes after we scored was another moment, irrespective of quite how good we've been defensively. It's just about being switched on at all moments. And, I can't say we're going to be as decisive in both boxes. What I can say is you kind of say that with how well we have played in the 2 games we've lost, and then it has just been the fine margins. You'd hope, 1 in 3 goes in our favour, but that's not always how things work. And, as I say, it'll be a very tough game. I'll go for a 3-1 Arsenal. I do think we will win, but it wouldn't surprise me if this time tomorrow I look like a mug. I'm not look like a mug. I'm not, bigging us up like we're going to win 4-0 or something. But it wouldn't surprise me if this time tomorrow is 2-2 or 2-1 Liverpool, 3-1. It's a game you can't really account for. There's no reason for Arsenal fans not to go in confident, but Anfield is Anfield in itself. And goal scorer wise, just because I kind of have a weird feeling that Havertz, Rice, and Trossard will score for us and Tsimikas for Liverpool. So there you go.
So 3-1's what you're going for?
3-1 indeed. All about the fine margins. But
if that well, tell me the lottery numbers too while you're at it, Matt, if you're going to, tell me that much detail. Karen, if I can please get a score prediction from you, and just as well, because we haven't mentioned it, and I do think it's a key point, there's going to be no Tomiyasu for this game. Do you think that's a big loss? Do you think that's going to be a big loss with, the likes of Salah and, not being able to guard him like that? You'd have confidence in someone like Tomiyasu to secure him up, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, of course. But the thing is, and this is something we did against Brighton a lot with Adingra, what we're able to do with Declan is have basically Zinchenko step out in transition and have Declan sort of push into the centre-back zone and have Gabriel move wide and push Gabriel one-on-one with Salah. So, well, it was with Adingra, but we can have it with Salah as well. So it's not that I'm not worried about what Salah can do. He can obviously do anything. He's Mohamed Salah. But I trust what Gabriel does, and I trust him in defending wide channels. So I think the main thing is when you think about how we defend this game, I think we defend it well. I think we control the middle, which is important, incredibly important in any football game. I think we're able to, as we mentioned earlier, build through the right, get at Gakpo. Hopefully, if it is Jones, we'll have to be a bit more. We'll have to, we can't really be more aggressive in that right zone in build up. We'd have to be a bit more central and maybe play through the block and be a bit more aggressive that way. If it is Gakpo, I trust Odegaard to get past him and then sort of run out the defense. I do expect there to be a lot of transitions in this game, but I do also expect our transition defense to hold up. I think that we have a core of transition stoppers in that team, that in Gabriel Saliba and Rice, that are able to basically just stop most things. And then I think the other thing is who's going to play on the left wing. If it's Diaz has not been in the greatest form. I still know there is a player in there, but he's come back and he's not looked like himself. I know that he played very well for Colombia against Brazil, but I'm okay with that. If it's really a case where we're looking at Ben White defending wide 1-on-1, and we're having Saliba and him interchange and try to cover that space. I'd rather it be with him than obviously no Jota, maybe Nunez peeling wide and Diaz sort of pulling back and providing an option. I can deal with that because Darwin isn't exactly the most techiest as you would player. So defend the wide areas, build through the middle, and then really look to try and hurt them in areas like set pieces. I think we can get them at set pieces, a corner, something like that, or even something like maybe a Martinelli goal from isolating him on Trent and sort of just playing around him, and with Trent in this new midfield position, we'll be able to get at wide areas, especially on that their right hand side, our left hand side. We'll be able to create something from there. I mentioned earlier from the left to right half space cross. The right to left. What am I saying? The right to left half space cross, where you have just outside the box, the right hand side. If you remember the Chelsea goal, the Trossard one, or the Brentford goal, the Havertz one, where it's basically swung in from the edge of the box and we swing it into basically the back post and have a runner come from there. I think that could be a very good chance creation mechanism. And just be resolute. Don't switch off. Defend your one-on-ones. Don't lax at set pieces defensively. If we can do that, we can win this game. I think it's going to be very close. I wouldn't be surprised at a draw. I'm going for a 1-0 Martinelli winner. I think that the space is available for him on that right-hand side, as I just mentioned before. And let's just get at him. That's the main thing. As long as we're not, passive in this game and try to just manage the game. If we play our game, I still think we can get a 1-0. And this is the thing, it's not going to be a 3-4-0. It's that some people are going to expect, or maybe like a 3-2 or a crazy game. It could be if we turn it into that, but with the amount of transitions we stop, it takes away a lot and we're going to try and dominate the ball up the pitch. We're not going to let them get out a lot because they don't have the second phase midfielders to really hurt us going forward. It's going to be very much Endo trying to build from receiving from the sixes and then trying to get it to a Gravenberch or maybe a Jones or an Elliott later in the game, or whoever their eights are, or a Szoboszlai. So I think the main thing is if we can pen them in a bit, keep the press high, make it a grind out 1-0 victory. I think that is something we can definitely do. Just watch out for whoever they have at left centre mid when they start. If it's Gakpo, increase the lead. I think 2-0. If it's Jones, then stick with 1-0. So we'll see.
To be fair as well, I think when you put it like that, it does kind of feel similar to the Emirates game against Man City, where people before the game were saying 3-1 or high scoring whatevers, and it just ends really tight. And the same was for the Newcastle game, which is really cagey. So you're probably going to be right in that factor. Dan, once you've given your prediction, I just want to ask a question as well on the importance of this game itself. But how do you think the game will go?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. We can't go for too much longer. I will warn you, Matt. But I see it. I see it being I can see it potentially going one of two ways. Like that Manchester City game, where it potentially is a bit of a chess match where it's just a cagey affair where you don't get many goals, don't get many chances. But then I could also see it going a similar way to how it went last year, where everything, you can almost blow the roof off of the game with the circumstances of it being a late kickoff as well. I think that's also, going to add that extra bit of bite and hype around the game. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'm going to predict a 3-2 to the Arsenal. I think it's going to be a bit of I can see it going, being a bit of a firecracker personally. But go on, Matt. Go on. What was your final question you wanted to ask?
Just a quick one. How do we feel about the importance of this game? Obviously, we're only in December, but is it a case where Arsenal win and it's a massive, massive statement as Anfield is? Is it a case where Arsenal lose and it is what it is? But it's more about if it was just a tight loss, it is what it is. Anfield's obviously a very tough ground and losses happen. And if it's to be a draw, is it just, give City, I guess, a bit more time to maybe get themselves back in? It's a good result for us away. How do we shape it in terms of the result of the game impacting the rest of the season? Obviously, very early days, just something interesting, I think, to quickly touch on.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with these kinds of questions, it's also indicative of how the game goes. If it's a tight 0-0, but we hold on for dear life and you're walking away with a point, then it's not the same as if you get spanked with chances, but don't convert them, and they don't convert them, and you've walked away sort of thinking, well, they kind of threw that away. Or vice versa. If we go crazy with chances and don't convert them and end up with another 0-0, it looks like 2 points wasted. I think these kinds of games, I think when you talk about the narratives afterwards, or how is it going to look, it's more how did the game go? Because if we go down to 10, for example, or they go down to 10, it's a different narrative. It's a different outlook on the game. So if it goes how I think it will go, a tight 1-0 to the Arsenal, it'll be a massive thing. It'll be like the City game at the Emirates, because it'll be a hoodoo, vanquished. It'll be something that Mikel can point to and go, look, we're moving forward. We're looking to, end these sort of like big six hoodoos away from home. That'll be massive. But look, I think that it depends on the game. It depends on how we play as well. It depends on how they play. And obviously it depends on how this Villa game goes. If Villa lose this, or Villa draw or they win, it changes the narrative, because
still 0-0 at the moment. Just to add to that, still 0-0 between the two. 71 minutes gone.
If Villa were going to lose their winning streak, it was either going to be against Arsenal or City, or a team like Sheffield United. So
yeah, there you go. Sorry, Karen, did you want to add any more to that?
No. I think I just wanted to say that if there is something that happens in this game tomorrow, that really changes the scope of how both teams are looked. For example, we score a crazy slick move to get it to 1-0, because we haven't really been playing that all that slick football. It's been a bit more grind them out, press them to hell, and then we'll create chances from that, and then score either from a corner or a set piece or something like that, or a nice little back header at the back post, or these kinds of goals. It's not like the silky cutbacks that we were getting for Odegaard last season. So it'll be these kinds of things will dictate how the game is looked and how the game narrative is afterwards, because all you saw after that Villa game was Villa posting that the build up for that goal again and again, and everyone gassing this Emery team, and they did very well. So against us for a while, but we messed up that game. But the thing is, more was talked about how Villa played than we did, because we didn't take our chances. And that was the story was, oh, look at how Villa ground out a victory against Arsenal. So this is how games going to be looked at, and this is the main thing you have to talk about when you talk about narratives as this sort of thing.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's going to be a tough game. Like I said previously, something we're all really much looking forward to. Great to see MJ there as well. He said he's take a draw right now, even if we're the ones to concede after leading. Great to have you there, MJ. Karen, thank you very much for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. Matt, thank you for joining us eventually. No, I'm joking. Thank you for joining us, Matt. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Everyone watching, thank you for being there. I hope everyone watching, if we don't broadcast before, I hope everyone watching enjoys their Christmas, has a great time over the festive period. And, Karen and Matt, I hope you enjoy the holidays, whatever you're up to. Hopefully, maybe see an Arsenal game at some point.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. We need to go to the Aaron Ramsdale chippy again, because that was good last time we went.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being there. Really appreciate all of you, your interactions with us. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Arsenal versus Liverpool tomorrow. Again, if you're watching back, comment down below what you think. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube. You can find us at AFC Newsday on Twitter as well. And once again, thank you very much.